Hi, friends. My name is Ryan Hebert, and this is where I share my insights. And today I'm talking about stopping at nothing to get what you want. And I'd like to examine this common phrase and suggest that the reason why we don't have what we want is because we're stopping at nothing. And if we'd go a little further into the nothing, we'd see that we don't want anything at all. Stick around. Our language is full of important clues about who we are. And we don't really listen to our language and understand the ghost-like world that we create. And one of those phrases that strikes me as weird is when someone might say, like, you stop at nothing to get what you want. Which in my experience has taught me it creates more illusion, more ghosts, more mirages, which seem to get further and further away as I stop at nothing. So this idea of willpower, force, and determination leave you wanting more. It's like Seneca said that a poor person is someone who craves more. It's not about having little. It's about craving more. And as we crave more, we feel more and more deprived. That's because we are preoccupied with finding it. And that's what science is all about. It's the exploration of what are we made out of. And if you explore the physical world, it seems endless. It seems like the more powerful the telescope, the more expansive the universe becomes. And the more powerful the microscope, the more the universe breaks down and breaks down and breaks down. First, we started cutting up things with knives, and then we started cutting up things with microscopes, and then we started cutting things up so far that we can't tell the difference between a particle and a wave. And science keeps thinking we're going to find the ultimate answer for existence. We're going to find what we're made out of. And so religion has picked up on this and has climbed the so-called chain of command and found a boss, which rules the world, creates the world out of inert, stupid stuff, and gives us dominion to push it around. I mean, so this image of the physical world does us no service. So if you're one of these people, like I used to be, I would stop at nothing to get what I wanted. It kept getting further and further away, in the same way that the ends of the universe keep getting further and further away. It is a complete and total preoccupation with the so-called physical world. It's like giving up on it. Science is going to keep going and going and going into what we're made out of, until science says this is the fundamental ultimate. And science is going to go down into the smallest elements and say this is the irreducible. That is, until someone develops a microscope or an instrument that can see even further into the microcosm, which gets further and further away. It's like holding up a mirror to a mirror. And as you approach one iteration of the mirror gets further away. That's because the universe is looking at itself. And so I'm suggesting that you don't stop at nothing to get what you want, but actually lean into it. When you experiment with nothing, you discover that nothing is something. And that there is essentially no difference between nothing and something. And that what makes something possible is the nothingness or the background that it pops out of. And so there is no nothing in the absolute sense. In the same way there is no something with the absolute in the absolute sense. They join. And going into the nothing makes you realize that there's nothing missing. That's where the revelation of wholeness comes in. And where what you were previously afraid of, you now lean into. That's why in some spiritual insight, you will hear words like lean not on your own understanding. What that means then is to investigate fear rather than running away from it. Investigate a life of nothing. And see if maybe this is the last frontier that has been explored. Particularly if you feel you are at your wits' end. This is the idea that you've had enough suffering, enough feeling empty, enough trying. The last frontier is nothing. But you see, nobody is going to suggest thinking nothing, doing nothing, being nothing. Nobody's going to suggest that you be a nobody. But this is what actually taps into real power. Nothing. Effortlessness. It will tap into something that you've needed in a different way. You've needed to give. You've needed to relinquish. You've needed to disassociate with what you felt was a distinguishable identity. And a you inside of a body. And this is where the illusion begins to break down, when the individual starts to disappear. And you truly become anonymous. A nobody. And you begin to trust in this nobodiness. You trust in this so-called nothingness. You trust in the so-called fear. You begin to realize you're not operating on the idea that you have any kind of control over it. And then at that point, you realize that the ego is really a role-playing entity, conspiring with other role-playing entities, which are substantially one and the same. Because it goes back to nothing and something. And that intelligence is everywhere, even in the idea of God making a human being out of the dust. That the maker is different than what is made. And the word made is a terrible word to think about nature, which is a product of itself. Because nobody wants to leave well enough alone. Nobody wants to do nothing and see how it plays itself out. To me, that's real living. Is just this wonderment of how does this play itself out? And leaving it to be that way. Rather than thinking, I can meddle in it, control it, dominate it, lord over it, and own it. If you take that approach, you are taking a forceful approach, which keeps everything away from you. If you go into the nothingness, become nobody, get rid of some shit, clean out a closet, clean out your bank account, eat less, do less, be less, you'll realize more and less are the same. You know how we say, well, more or less, or all things being equal. When you become that understanding that brings duality together and aligns with infinity, aligns with the power that is the one energy that has two faces in the materialistic world. You join that together in an inward world, a new discovery where duality ceases. You tap into power that was already there. And that which you were seeking, you realize you already are. Nothing. There's no chain of command. There's no militant boss. And so if you're trying to find the chain of command, at the top you're going to find Zeus, who holds a trident, and at the bottom you're going to find a red guy that holds a pitchfork. And they're one and the same. So that blows those theories out of the water. The universe doesn't have a president, a governor. And that scares people because we need a leader. Well, you have to lean not on your own understanding and hand yourself over to the organic processes of the indigenous nature that does and is a process into and of itself. If you stop at nothing to get what you want will continue to get further and further away. I'm suggesting that you become nobody. Give things away that seem meaningful. Live without having to think. And realizing that there's no difference between a flash of lightning and lightning itself. Lightning is lightning. A tree is treeing. People are peopling. Birds are birding. Realize that it's just a natural process. And that you can really enjoy your life without fiddling with it. I suggest that if you've had enough, that you explore the vast and wonderful world called nothing, and in it you will find everything. And that nothing was missing. And that you can become desireless, identityless, and a nobody. And that's the ultimate freedom. See, the ego doesn't want to hear that, though. The ego doesn't want to hear that you're a nobody. Maybe you're not ready for that. Maybe somebody told you, go out there and become somebody. Go after your dreams. That's a real good ghost. Go after your dreams. That puts your dreams ahead of you and you're after it. And it stays that way. That you're going to apply all kinds of force to try to get it. And just like the world of stuff, the bigger the telescope to observe, the bigger the observation. Makes it fun. But this quest ends in something called spiritual revelation. Brings the theory of relativity to an end. It's called silence. It's called nothing. And when you talk about nothing, you turn it into a concept. But that's what's fun about it. Trying to point your attention to it. So if you stop at nothing to get what you want, go a little further into the nothing and see that you're all of it. That you lack nothing, and the fullness of life is within. My name is Ryan Hebert, and I hope you enjoyed these insights. If you enjoy what I think about, please read my blog, sign up for daily emails from me at mymorningmotivator.com, and we'll see you next time.